We have a very special guest on our show today, Thorr Bjorn, the Director of Athletics at the University of Rhode Island, joins us. And Thorr, it's just a pleasure to have you on the show today. Thank you so much for taking the time to be on the show and chat with us tonight.
Oh, Jack, thank you so much for having me. It's great to see you, and it's great to be with you. I wish it was in person, but you know what? This is okay too.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I wanted to talk to you about just kind of your path to becoming the director of athletics, because I know a lot of people might have different stories, different ways they got into your particular position. What was your path like? How did you get to where you are today?
Sure. You know, it's funny. I've been thinking a little bit about that recently for whatever reason, probably because I'm just getting older. But I went to the University of Massachusetts, and I got my undergraduate degree in sport management. And my first internship, which I was applying for, like everybody else, I applied for probably 100 different opportunities. And my first internship worked out to be at the University of Connecticut in their athletic business office. And I did that for about 6 months and absolutely loved it. It was supposed to be for a year. It was a cool experience. And I was very fortunate to get a phone call back from UMass. The director of tickets and game operations was out on sick leave. Not fortunate for him, but I went back and interviewed and got that position, which was basically an interim position for 6 months, which was basically the length of my internship. And during that time, that was when John Calipari was at UMass, and no experience, but as the director of tickets and game operations that time, we actually went to the NIT Final Four. I mean, running bus trip, 11, 12, 15 bus trips to the NIT, just an amazing experience. And I was thinking back, I was 23 years old at the time, and it was cool. I ended up getting the job full time. I served in that capacity for 6 years, right up through the Final Four run, which is not a great, you don't want to be a ticket manager during a Final Four run in a non-dome facility that's only 2.5 hours away from your school. Trust me, that is a bad deal. But again, great experience. And I moved from that to the marketing and corporate sales position, and realized that's what I really love. I like being more of the external side. And, I left college athletics for a couple of years and then came back as basically the senior associate at UMass again. And they went through a hiring search for a person, and during that time, I was named the interim AD. And Jack, that's when I said to myself, I did that for about 6 months, and I said, this is what I want to do. And I worked there for another 3 years for a guy who I love and was a great mentor of mine. And then the job at Rhode Island became available, and they actually, the chair of the search reached out to me and said, would you be interested in applying? And I went to the athletic director I worked for, and I said, hey, what do you think about Rhode Island? He goes, you know what? I'll never forget it. There's only 350 of those jobs out there, so go for it.
Yeah.
And was fortunate enough to get it, and here we are going on to my 14th year. It's amazing how fast it's gone by.
Wow, that is fast. Holy cow. I wanted to ask you, is that a common path for athletic directors to kind of go through the ticket sales side of things, the corporate sponsorships, the marketing side?
There's so many different ways. The guy I was referring to came through on the business side. I think a lot of times the external side, and when I talk about external, I'm really talking about, the marketing, corporate sales, fundraising, and development are really important skill sets. Can you raise money or can't you? And are you comfortable going out and asking people to get behind your program? And so I think it's pretty common for folks with that skill set to try to work their way into the ADC. But it all depends on what the institution's looking for. I still remember Bob Carruthers, who hired me, the president at the time, said Thorr is the right fit at the right time. I don't know what that means, but I was like, okay, I know what I do know looking back on now what they were looking for. And it's all, there's so many different pathways and so many different opportunities. The hard part is there's so few of these jobs at the Division I level.
Right. It is a very competitive field altogether, being in a college athletic department, let alone the director. What goes on in the day-to-day? What goes on in the life of Thorr Bjorn day-to-day when you're on campus, whether it's a Monday, whether it's a game night, whatever it might be? What do you have to do from the moment you step in that office?
The thing that I love, that's a great question. The thing I love the most about it is for the most part, you don't know. I look at my calendar when I wake up in the morning, and for the most part, again, there's pre-COVID and COVID. Now it's, a lot of it's meetings, a lot of it's, meetings with different groups, and whether it's, the president's leadership team, which I meet with now 3 times a week, or, our associate athletic director call that we do once a week, or then just meet with coaches. And so a lot of it's communication, a lot of it's management. And way I sort of describe it is try to be able to compartmentalize, different things of the day. So, I may be dealing with NCAA eligibility issues at a given moment, or it may be a fundraising initiative that we're working on and planning on. And one of the things I have amazing staff that I love working with, and I try to allow them the autonomy to certainly do their jobs. They know what I'm hoping to have accomplished, and finding that group that really gets behind that and understands it, and then go run. And that's what I want you to do. But you have a lot of things that do come up that you're not expecting. All of a sudden there is going to be that curveball that comes flying at you, and you got to spend 2 hours dealing with it. That happened to me today. Just a call with the conference office, something that came up that I just had to react to, and then get other folks involved with. And but the thing about all that is it's different. I'm not going in having the same thing happening every day, not even close. And that's what I love most about the job. It can be very different. And I think as we continue to try to focus on making the program better, a lot of it's fundraising. A lot of times that brings me out of the office, which is what I like to do. Students will come in and interview me sometimes, Jack, and say, what's your favorite part of the job? And I said, if I'm in the office, it's probably it's my least favorite.
Right.
It means you're dealing with, personnel issues. You're dealing with budget issues, stuff that isn't necessarily as exciting. It's important, but it's not necessarily the most fun. But if I'm out selling the program, if I'm out, talking to donors and sponsors about getting and investing in our program, that's what really energizes me. Some coaches ask me to be involved in the recruiting process and meeting with kids when they're on campus. That really energizes me. It's because I get to talk about something I love. I love the University of Rhode Island. I love our athletic program. So it makes it a lot of fun to just go out and share the vision of what we're trying to build here.
Yeah, that is incredible. The fact that how hands-on you are in the job. I'm sure that has an impact on certain things, like hiring coaches, bringing students in. You've had a lot of incredible hires, especially over the last couple of years. Bringing in Dan Hurley, following him, David Cox, Tammy Reese, the most recent hire for the women's basketball program. There are a ton of great coaches. Gareth Elliott, who's brought an A-10 championship to men's soccer. There are a ton of great coaches at the University of Rhode Island. What goes into the process of hiring these coaches, getting those names out there and bringing them in, and then kind of setting the hook and keeping them at URI?
Sure, that's a great question, and that's also a fun part of the job, but it's a crazy part. If we talk about a men's basketball search or a women's basketball search or even a football search, when we're in that mode, and we either coach makes the decision to leave or we made a decision to make a change, from that moment on, that's all I do for the next week to 10 days to 2 weeks. That's the 100% focus. Everybody else kind of does their thing. And I think the way I like to do searches is certainly bring a inner core of people that I really trust from our athletic department, and 2 or 3 people that are going to be with me and help me during that process. But I think it's really important to search, to go out and find people. You'll certainly find those that'll reach out to you, but I like to go out and try to find the best candidate. We start by looking at, what type of person are we looking for? And then the word I've been using most recently is fit. Who's the right fit? Who's going to come in here and be part of our culture and help make us better? Who's not going to, we don't want someone that's going to come here and throw our culture to the in the woods and start all over again. I mean, that's awful. That's not fun, and it doesn't work. Now, that doesn't mean we find someone that says, hey, you have to do it this way or get out. No, we just need to find someone that we like working with, that understands the culture of who we are as an institution, and wants to win the right way. And but I'll tell you, it's intense. And I have my Fitbit on, and when I do most of my work on searches at home, and I pace up in my bedroom, and I will pace from one end of the bedroom to the bathroom and back and forth, not knowing I'm doing it. I
Yeah,
drive my wife
sure.
nuts, and she's downstairs. And I probably will put on 10,000 steps a night, just going back and forth,
Right.
talking on the phone. And it's exciting, it's fun, it's stressful as all heck. I mean, some of the stories I can't share, I wish I could, about the Dan Hurley hire were incredible. But it's an amazing process. And at the end of the day, when you do have that right person, you enjoy working with them. They have the success. They get the players. They get the community excited. It's a lot of fun. And Tammy Reese was a great example. Dave Cox, Gareth Elliott, Rafael Serrato. Those people that you're mentioning are just terrific.
Yeah, they have done so many great things at URI, it seems, and of course my knowledge of URI athletics, right? My hands-on knowledge is really over the last 6 years. I know a little bit before the recent history, but being there is really when you can dig your teeth in what's going on, especially at the athletic department. There have been numerous Atlantic 10 championships over the last couple of years. Men's track, and you look at women's rowing. Men's baseball won an Atlantic 10 championship. Men's soccer just won an Atlantic 10 championship. The men's basketball team had a regular season and postseason A10 championship. Friends inside my circle, student media alike, have called this the golden age of URI athletics. Your thoughts on that statement, and just do you think that this is kind of the height, the peak of where URI can be, and if it can keep going up?
I love that question, and thank you for the very kind thought about your program, your institution's athletic department. We've had great success recently, but no, it's not the peak, it's not the pinnacle. When we go out and win a conference championship in every sport in a given year, that should be our goal. That's our focus. That's our challenge. But you know what? Once you do that, you got to go back and do it again in the next year. And so, I think that URI is a really special place. It's a place in which that we know who we are. We are funded in a way from the university and from our donors to be competitive in the Atlantic 10 in all sports. And that puts us in position to compete for championships. And then once you compete for a championship, and if you're fortunate enough to win a championship, just like, again, what Gareth did, almost beating Syracuse in soccer, could have beaten UConn the year before. What Raf's done down at South Carolina a few years ago with a great win down there in the baseball regional, and what Dan Hurley did in those first 2-round games against Creighton and Oklahoma. I mean, that's what it's all about. And when you can see the pride and the excitement from our student athletes that our student athletes have, people like yourself that just acknowledge, I mean, that's really special to hear, the acknowledgement of and pride that our alums have when we're successful. That's why sports are important. And that's why we have to continue to invest in them. And that's why, it's a cliche, but it's a great front porch to all the other amazing things happening at URI. But it's our obligation to be successful as we possibly can, and to do it the right way, so that there is that level of pride. And that's what we work really hard to try to do.
Right. Yeah, you do a very good job at that. And I was just saying, of course, before we went on the air, how I'd love to be at Meade Stadium this past Saturday. The fall weather was out, and oh my goodness, I would have loved to be down there enjoying some football. Before we let you go, Thorr, I just wanted to go through kind of some of your favorite moments. You probably already have mentioned some of them, the big wins that we've had, but your favorite moments of being an athletic director at URI, a couple that stand out to you.
I'm going to tell you one that's not sports related, but it is one of my highlights, and it's a couple years back. We had 2 sets of student athletes. One was a baseball player who married a women's soccer player, and another was a football player, a track athlete who married another track athlete. And they both couples asked me to officiate their wedding.
Oh, that's awesome.
That was truly the highlight and the pinnacle of my career, to be able, and I really believe, for us to be able to deliver it, for the athletic department to be able to provide that level of appreciation to them, for them to ask some member of the department to be part of that special day was really amazing. And that's what we're trying to accomplish a lot. That certainly was one. Then when you get into the competition and the wins, right behind me, this picture above me is a signed picture from Jimmy Barron from the Duke game.
Hmm.
even though we didn't win that game was incredible. And him playing and making the threes like he was doing was wild. I still remember my first A10 championship. It was with the rowing team, probably my first or second year here.
Hmm.
That was pretty amazing. And my first football win, which was against I say it's when I started working. That's what I mean. Not my ownership of those,
Yeah.
but my experience in those. And beating Brown, we started Tim
Hmm.
Stowers first year. My first year, we started 0-5 and ended up winning the overtime game against Brown. And I have that football in my office. I look at it every day, and it's really cool. I couldn't name them all. There's so many great experiences and great victories, and just a lot of fun. And when I sit back and think about the fact that these are games, but they're games that mean something. And when I have had the interactions with so many amazing people in my 13 years now, going on 14 years, and seen so many great accomplishments and worked with so many great coaches, it's a lot of great memories. That's for sure. It's so hard to pick them out. There's far more great ones than disappointing ones. That's for sure.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. It's been that I didn't know about you officiating weddings. That's awesome. That's really cool that
Thank
you're able
you.
to do that. But yeah, it's been a great introduction into kind of what goes on in the life of Thorr Bjorn. So I thank you again for coming on the show. One final question. We're bidding adieu all of our guests with this question. Do you have a favorite McDonald's meal?
Oh wow, it's so funny you say. What a great question. You know, I'm gonna say a double cheeseburger, but
Nice.
that probably isn't true.
Okay.
If I could go with, I haven't had a Big Mac in 30 years, literally. But I think one of these days I gotta get one of
That's
those.
the one.
And yep, I gotta do it. I gotta
Three
do
for
it. You may have
three.
inspired me to go do that.
We are 3 for 3 now. The last 3 guests that we've had have said the Big Mac is the way to go. We're starting a
That's
trend.
fantastic.
Oh my
That is
goodness.
fantastic.
Thor, thank you again for coming on. I appreciate it as always. We hope to see some sports soon. Thank you again for taking the time. Good luck to you, and we'll talk very soon.
Sounds great. Thank you, Jack, so much for having me on, and all the best. I look forward to seeing you in person.
Awesome. Sounds good. Have a good night.
You too. Thanks.